Alright, so here's the long form. So this pump job's basically done. Customer wants to wait on the indicator lights. They're gonna run some wire for us, so that's less of a point. One change I did today was I basically ran a jumper between this pressure switch or this pressure switch, because this seems to be the more dominant pump, meaning it, even though these should be adjusted fairly the same, this one seems to turn on faster, or say sooner than this one does. So I basically jumped this around so that and these are also, I mean, they're 240 pumps. I don't know if these are on different legs, different breakers, so we're not joining the control voltage between these two. We're just using the extra pole here basically to switch this pump. So this pressure switch trips on the main pump, the backup pump or the second pump basically will turn on at the same time. But if this pressure switch does come to a point where this pump reaches pressure and it says, hey, I need to turn off, it can turn itself off. So just basically this pump starts this pump, but if this pump needs to, it can shut itself off with its own pressure switch. Let's go ahead and see if we can trip this real quick. We do have a drip zone running. And I guess before I do that, let's talk about this pressure tank. 16 gallons. This site's got 40, 50, 60 zones. It's got a whole bunch of main line, which by itself acts as a big accumulator, or you can think an expansion tank, minus, you know, the bladder in there. So 16 gallon tank. This whole box was a giant pain to put in, but I think it turned out pretty nice. So you can see it's just a solid block down there that this sits on, and then we drilled another hole through. So this is on the main line side. If we want to, we could add room. We have room, we could add another tank. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this lid on just to make it a heck of a lot easier. Okay, so I'm gonna trip this because we should be coming up to pressure, I think. Okay, so what you're gonna watch is this is gonna keep drawing down, and at a certain point it's gonna cut itself back in. So you got two 3-horse pumps. These are just the incoming power disconnects, one for each set of cabinets. We have, this is a Monroe start box, so they have their transformer, circuit breaker fuses, time delay relay contactor, and then we have their pressure switch that's more of a safety, and then thermals underneath. We're just using control voltage power for our pressure switch. I much prefer it that way rather than having, you know, let's say 15 amps running through these contacts. Anyway, it seems to kind of take. All right, there you go. So you can see the pumps just turned back on, so they drew themselves back down. Now we're just running a drip zone. I really don't know how much water we're actually pushing through these cycle stop valves. But they don't short cycle. As you can see, they'll just run. The other thing we do is we do have a reset button here. So we can, if I hold this in, so if we do trip on, say, low pressure or thermal, that time delay relay until you power cycle will stay on, and the upper red lights will be on. So that's why we have the reset button, so that we can reset this thing if for whatever reason. Pretty packed in here. There's our outgoing water. There is a convenience outlet there, and this was a retrofit application, I should say. So hence why everything's so tight. I mean, the ball valve touches the pump, touches the pump. I mean, it is tight, and it is all serviceable. I've had these unions apart. I've had that union out with pinched no ring right off the get, and so yeah, so that's the setup. And it's got this fancy lid that lives on here. The other thing we might have to do is some ventilation. This pump station was designed with help from Monroe for about 60 gallons per minute, and I think it's like 180 feet ahead. I could be wrong. I have to go back and look at the actual specs for us. Now, looking at that, we could have ran these pumps in series and got a lot more head. I wish we would have done that, but this works fine as it is. So